Right.
Hello.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Well Said It Wednesday. Lauren and I are really excited about our guest today, Rachel Burchfield. Rachel has just been one of our favorite new friends this year.
Yeah, one of our new internet friends. We love her.
And now we've actually, every time we can bring her in on a project that we have at the Well Said It, we do. And so anyway, Rachel is a freelance writer, which I can't wait for her to share with everyone about that change. In addition to, she has a royal podcast, which covers all things royal. I know she's taking a break for the month of August, but I think it's just about to start back up. She also is a regular contributor to magazines such as Cosmopolitan and Southern Living and all the things that we all read and love. And in addition, she also writes a regular column on what Meghan, isn't it Meghan?
Yes, what
Meghan Moore. Yeah. So
Ooh,
I was like, I know. So she's just full of like interesting topics. We could talk for hours with Rachel, I know, but thank you for being here, Rachel.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. You know I love y'all so much.
Well, I usually like start off with like getting you to tell us a little bit about yourself, but one of the things we've been talking about this morning that I'm so excited, can you start by just sharing with our members what you got to do this weekend?
Oh my gosh, I just had the trip of a lifetime this weekend to Cumberland Island, Georgia, which if you have not yet gone, I know Emily, you've gone. This has to be, you feel like I told my boyfriend who was with me, you feel like you're in another world, not even just another country, but in another universe, because it's so beautiful and different than what I know. But why I went there was I'm writing a story right now for Vanity Fair about JFK Jr. and Carolyn Bassett's 25th wedding anniversary, which is on September 21st of this year, and they were married on Cumberland Island. So we stayed where they stayed, at the Burchfield Inn. They had their rehearsal dinner there, they had their reception there, and then we went to the chapel where they were married. It's so small, and so it's not air conditioned, none of it's air conditioned, and nondescript. You have to go and on a 2-hour ride through a jungle, I'm not kidding, to get to the church, and it was absolutely magical. So I'm still on vacation vibes over here, so you're catching me like really relaxed and super happy right now.
Okay, so tell us your story, but I have 100 questions.
I know, that's why I'm like, it's so hard to,
Yeah.
but I think, you know, as a freelance writer, you now get the opportunity to have these amazing projects. So maybe just back up and tell us how you got to where you are now.
Yeah.
Well, how much time do we have? Because it is a long, non-linear circuitous journey. So I say that, but I kind of feel like sometimes we know as children what we're meant to do, and whether we listen to that or not is up to us. But I have always loved to write. And I was on my high school newspaper staff. And then I went on to college and I got a journalism degree at the University of Kansas. But then as I was graduating in 2009, if you'll remember what was going on in the economy at that time, the Great Recession, a lot of my professors said, look, newspapers, which is what I wanted to write for. I always have been print focused, not broadcast. Newspapers are dying. It's a dying industry. You should really consider going to graduate school and have a backup plan. So I did. I went to Ole Miss. I got a master's degree in higher education administration and ended up having an 8-year career in that field. And I'm so thankful for that career and what it taught me. But I was freelancing on the side. I never really fully stopped writing. It was always my passion, but I just never knew if I could make it financially doing it, to be quite honest with you. So I won't go too deep in the weeds on this, but I think it matters because life happenings can sometimes redirect our path, as I know Lauren and Emily, you know well. I was in a very serious relationship. I moved to Jackson, Mississippi for him, and we broke up. And I kind of had a quarter life crisis. And I said I had just turned 31, and like literally we broke up three or 4 days before I turned 31. good timing on the breakup, right? But I turned 31 and just kind of had a reckoning. Am I doing what I want to do with my life? And I said, you know what? I'm going to go for it. I'm going to see if I can make it as a full-time writer. So very fortunate that the Birmingham Business Alliance took a chance on someone that had been in her current job all of about 3 or 4 months, had no full-time writing experience. I'd freelanced, but that's not the same. And they really took a chance on me. And I worked there from December of 2017 until this past April 30th. So 3.5 going on 4 years. And it was exactly what I wanted to do. I found my calling, and then I started freelancing on more pop culture-y, Royals, Kennedys, those type of projects on the side, and decided to take the leap on April 30th and become my own boss. And now I'm a full-time freelance writer. So that's kind of the long, short version of how I got to here.
Well, I will tell you our story. Rachel reached out to us, and this is, I think, what is so special about her, and something that we could all learn as we're advocating for ourselves, whether that's in the workplace, outside the workplace. My mom, who's on the call, said, I was considering a sales job at one point in my life in advertising. And my mom's like, well, you're always in sales. You may as well learn now, because I have a special needs brother, Ashby, and my mom had to advocate for him. So, there's lots of advocating for yourself that women have to do throughout their lifetime. And I feel like Rachel, from the moment we met her, she said, I just love the concept of first she called us, I love the concept of the Wealth Edit. Like, I want to meet with y'all. I want to write for y'all. And she just kind of put it out there very plainly. And it was so easy to know her, easy to understand the value that she would add to the Wealth Edit right away. I mean, it just was. And so we feel very fortunate to have met you. But I think that same skill set, I'm assuming, but please correct me or tell us, because everybody wants to be published. Like, I know we do. If you have a publication or you're in charge of a publication, like, we would like to weigh in, so just like, right. Tell us how people can do this. Cause a lot of us are writing or like have these businesses. I see some of our female entrepreneurs on this call. Help us out.
Well, yeah. So if you would have asked me a year ago what would be like the worst job I could possibly think of for myself, it would have been sales. I get very uncomfortable making the ask. I still do, but you have to push through that discomfort, because now as a full-time freelance writer, that ask equals my bills being paid, and so you can get over it really quickly when you realize, if I don't make this ask, if I don't make this ask, then we're not going to eat this month, and I'm not going to be able to pay my bills. And so I think it just takes a whole lot of gumption, but I will say that it gets easier the more that you do it. It's a learned skill, and it will maybe always be a little bit uncomfortable for me to not only send a pitch email, for example, like I did. I can't remember if I called y'all or emailed you. I think I started with email, but and I call myself all the time to editors of these magazines your friendly neighborhood pest, because I send the email and then I follow up. Like right before we hopped on this call, I sent about 3 or 4 follow-up emails. My philosophy is, if you say no to me, then I'll get off your back. But until you say no to me, or until you say yes to me, I am going to be in your inbox roughly every 3 to 4 days, until you're just so tired of seeing my little name pop up at the top of your inbox that you either say no, or you say, who is this woman that keeps showing up in my inbox over and over again? And you take a look at my work and you go, okay, maybe we can work together. And I will say, and this is not braggadocious, but I have a new sense of confidence that has come from learning this skill. And I will say that I have never not been hired twice. And so my thing is, if you just give me one chance, then you'll hire me again. I promise. We can, and
I can attest to that. That's true.
Thank you. I mean, my thing is, if you can just, if if I can see a crack in the door, I'm going to kick the door down, but you got to give me that crack in the door to work with. And so, yeah, I completely understand it being uncomfortable to make that ask. Trust me, I still am so there with you. And I have been told no. For every one yes I get, I probably have about 99 no's behind it. And, it's kind of like, you build up that toughness, and no doesn't become the end of the world eventually. And so for those out there that are, whatever your entrepreneurial journey is, mine is freelance writing, yours might be something else, just practice, just make the ask. And when you get the yes, because you will get the yes, the thing about someone that never gives up is they eventually win. Because my thing was, I'm not going to stop asking until a yes happens, and they do come. They sometimes feel few and far between, and like it takes forever to get there. But when you do get the yes, overperform, get your, blow them away with your professionalism. Like me, I always turn in stories early, I always go above and beyond, and then once we establish a good working relationship, we can get into kind of a flow that's not so over performative, but just always go above and beyond, and you will get hired again and again.
I love that. I kind of want to slow that. I think that was so good what you just said, because for anyone on this call, you can chat or just nod your head to yourself, but tell me if this sounds like you. You've pitched something or you've made an ask and it's a little uncomfortable and you hear nothing. Then what's your default? Your default is, I'm terrible at this. Oh, I need to go back and retool the whole thing. Oh, I shouldn't have sent that. Oh, your little voice in your head starts second guessing you, where really it's just kind of unless it's a no, like you said, it's maybe they're distracted, they're busy. And if it is a no, then that's just a clue. That's what we think of a no as. If someone says no, we're like, it's just what it meant to be. Let's move along.
Yeah. And you get to learn that, like for me with my stories, if it's a no from I can tell you hundreds of stories of publications that you may not have heard of that said no, but then a Vanity Fair or a Vogue would say yes. And also I will say that I heard this once, and this inspired me, and I hope it inspires. Yes, and I see the chat from Susie that they're thinking about it, and yes, we have to allow people time to think about it. And in my business, they could be going to their higher up editors and checking with them. I mean, you never know what's going on behind the scenes. Definitely never take it as anything personal that you're less than. But I heard this once, and I hope it helps those that pitch and don't hear back. Sometimes people don't even respond to the first pitch intentionally, because they want to see if you're that passionate about your idea that you'll follow up about it. Because if you're semi-passionate about something, you might not even follow. Like there have been stories that I've been like, okay, well, nobody's biting, so I'm just going to kind of let it go. But the stories that I'm passionate about, I'm going to follow up and follow up and follow up until someone says yes. And so if you don't hear anything from that first pitch, never take that personally. Maybe they're just waiting to see, okay, is this person really passionate enough to make that second ask? And you always should, because again, the worst thing they can say is no. And no eventually hurts in the beginning, especially the more passionate you are about it. But that it becomes a skill, and you never get used to a no, but it hurts less. And then you just say, okay, so that's not the story's home. Where is the story's home? And it's kind of like a journey of matching the right story up with the right magazine. So never give up. Oh my gosh, if you believe in it, just keep on asking.
I love that, because I think that, like Lauren and I talk about this all the time with the Wealth Edit. I mean, we both are very passionate for different reasons, but we are both extremely committed to and passionate about women learning about wealth and how it fits into their lives, and giving them the tools they need to accomplish the goals they want. Really, truly, I mean, like we built the Wealth Edit as our first best guess on how to make this work. I mean, like, how can we get this information out? And we're going to keep pushing at it simply because we're passionate about it. And I can attest, just as somebody who changed careers, just like you did midlife here, I mean, you have to put yourself way outside your comfort zone, and I
Oh,
wouldn't
every
do
day.
it. I would not do it if I didn't feel passionate about it. That is for sure. And so, I mean, thinking about like your passions, I would love to hear like, where did your passion for the Royals and the Kennedys come from? Has that
Oh, yeah.
also always been a
Yes. And so I don't know if this is embarrassing, but it's true. So here it is. I was in love with Prince William and JFK Jr. as a child.
Me too. Me too.
So that's where the love of those two men is where it all began. My mom was a huge Royals fan, loved Diana. I remember her death, which the 24th anniversary of it is coming up in like 6 days at the end of this month. And I just have always followed the Royals. So William was born in 82, Harry in 84, me in 86. So I kind of grew up with the boys and seeing their mother and them on the cover of People magazine. And then same with the Kennedys. And they're just, there's some cultural touchstones in my life that I've just always been drawn to: the Royals, the Kennedys, First Ladies. I'm really interested in them. Sex in the City. I'm obsessed with Sex in the City, my favorite TV show of all time. And I'm so thrilled for this reboot. I can't wait to see what happens. So, and I can't believe, like, if you would have told me as a little girl at 10, reading People magazine or reading Elle or Harper's Bazaar or whatever, that someday I would actually have a lucrative career writing about these people, I would have never believed you. And my mom, who is my biggest fan and loves me more than life, still can't believe that this is really happening. And I dedicate all of it to her because she was always a reader, whether it be magazines, books, and she really imparted that on me. And so, I just really dedicated all to her because she opened me up to pop culture at a very young age. And I'm a pop culture junkie all the way around. But the Royals, for all of their flaws and for all of their ups and downs, they're never boring. So
That's a good word.
understatement of the year. So
Understatement of the year. Well, that's pretty awesome. And so tell us about how you first, so did you start writing about them first, or did you start pitching magazines to then pick up your writing about this is what I need to know.
So gosh. Okay, so no is the short answer to that. So I had probably, I don't know, I graduated from college with a journalism degree in 2009. My first real royal writing experience was I started my own blog called the Duchess Commentary, which I've kind of put on pause because I've just been doing other things. Like, if you want to know my opinions on all things royal right now, you can listen to Podcast Royal, which is a podcast I co-host with another Birminghamian that I actually met in the Junior League of Birmingham. So we're two Southern women talking about the British royal family. We have a lot of fun, and her name is Jessica. But even before, see, that's the thing. I think 2 years ago, which seems like forever ago and yesterday at the same time, didn't have a clue in my mind that I could be on the national scene. I mean, that seemed so far out of reach. I wasn't even thinking in that realm. And so I started the Duchess Commentary. I still, to this day, 2.5 years later, haven't made a penny from the Duchess Commentary, but it proved to be a launch pad for everything that came after. So the Duchess Commentary was started in right after Archie's birth in May of 2019. And what it was like a daily commentary on Kate and Meghan. I want to point that out, that I love them both equally, which is apparently a rarity these days, but I still love them both equally. And so then from there, I ended up becoming the editor of What Meghan Wore, which focuses on Meghan's style and her work and her life. And then, so actually in COVID, now COVID is terrible. No one will tell you otherwise, but one silver lining of the pandemic is that these magazines, who are very West Coast and East Coast oriented, realized that you could do your work from anywhere. The editors themselves, very few of them were in New York City anymore. They had gone home to their family homes, wherever that was, and we're doing everything on Zoom. And so actually, talk about another cultural touchstone. It was the Kardashians that helped me get my real national start. So
Really?
yes, and I
Wait,
love
I
the
need to know
Kardashians.
about that.
Yeah, no, I love the Kardashians. Like, I mean, people love to hate on them, and that's fine. But yes, I am proof that I love the Kardashians and the Royals in the same breath. So actually, Khloe Kardashian published talk about a story that would sell and got knows forever. I mean, this story that I ended up publishing on Khloe Kardashian's app in 2017, it would not sell. It was the story that I could not sell, but I really loved it. And it was like things I wish I had known when I was a younger woman or something like that. And it's still out there somewhere. I think it's on my website. And so it wouldn't sell. And I was like, you know what? Why not just email it to Khloe Kardashian's app team? I saw some tweet that they were accepting like advice columns, feel good stories for her app, which I don't even think exists anymore. And they published it. And so that was really my first national exposure. But then flash forward to what is it, September or October of last year in 2020. I am the master or the mistress, whatever the female form of master is. Mistress doesn't sound quite right, but anyway, of cold emails. I have got it down to a science. I'm going to teach, not that I'm some expert, but I'm going to teach you how to cold email someone. So there's this site called rocketreach.com, and it will tell you the email format of companies. And if you can get that down and you know the person's name that you're trying to get in touch with, then you can pretty much guess what their email address is going to be. And if
So
it
it's like our Burchfield or Lauren.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
all right.
Like I just emailed a famous anchor at CNN last week, and I went to Rocket Reach like I always do, and I was like, okay, this is the format of CNN, and I put her name in it, and it didn't bounce back, and she responded to me that next day. So I mean, you just have to, I cold email people all the time. I just had to get over myself and like, you know what, who am I trying,
Yeah.
what am I, who do I think I am? Just send the email. You're not like, it's going to be okay. Again, the worst thing they can say is no. But anyway, so I cold emailed Kim Kardashian's best friend. So I've never missed.
Is there a Rocket Reach for like how to reach Kim Kardashian's best friend?
I knew her name. I knew her name and I knew where she worked. And so I put in this email at whatever.com, and this woman, her name's Allison Statter, is so kind. I remember this because it was a Sunday night. I was watching First Lady on CNN, which was like a docu-series they were running. It was in early October, I think. And I'm telling you, on a Sunday night, within 5-10 minutes, Allison wrote me back. And she said, sure, I'd love to talk to you. And I was like, oh my God, they actually said yes. That was my first big yes. And because, you're so used to hearing no. It's like, okay, I'm going to say no, or I'm going to get crickets. It's going to be silence. She said yes. And I go, oh my God, now I have to actually do the work. And so anyway, so I started pitching it out, and Mary Claire, which I mispronounced my whole life saying Marie Claire. It's Mary Claire. And so that was something, talk about like not having a clue what I was doing and building the plane while I was flying it. But anyway, Mary Claire accepted the pitch, and I knew that once they accepted that my life had changed. Because the thing in this industry is, if you can get validation from one publication, then others will trust that you can do the work for them, and they will take the gamble on you. And so it was really a domino effect after that. It just snowballed. And now, I mean, I just give all glory to God, because I look at my resume sometimes and I'm like, this is a career that only God could have built. Because I will humble myself right now and tell you that I live in a basement in Birmingham, and I am no millionaire. I'm just a girl that has a lot of passion for pop culture, loves to write. I hope I have some talent. And and I'm talking to Tina Turner and Diane von Furstenberg and Victoria Beckham. And I'm like, gosh, if they only could see past this little Zoom screen, like like the humble beginnings that I'm at right now, it would blow their minds. But it's just really, I'm so blessed. Thank you, Jesus. And I don't take a minute of it for granted. So just never give up is the bottom line here.
right. And I mean, truly, no just becomes, as a financial advisor, I'll just give you a little arc of how things happen. So first you say you're a financial advisor and you barely believe it yourself. And people like literally think you're going to just like go in their back pocket and grab something or something. And, you know, it's so awkward at first. And so then it gets really funny at cocktail parties, but you know, it's funny. You just kind of get, like you said, you just kind of get over yourself. And one thing that I remember, my husband challenging me to, it's very much along the same lines of what you just said, is when I was with Merrill Lynch for 10 years and then opened Somerset with Hightower, and Hightower was way better at marketing. So like all of a sudden I was on Forbes list. I was on like, it felt like I had a billboard, and really I didn't, but it just was my own self-consciousness. And so I'd go home and complain to my husband, and he said, you didn't like it when no one knew what you did. And now you don't like it when everybody knows what you do. So like, maybe the problem's with you. And I'm like, the problem is me, you know, I mean, which 99% of the time it is anyway with most people, but it was just a funny thing. And I think we do that with anything from public speaking to selling to working with money to becoming a freelance to pursuing your dreams. You're just always like, there's that doubt. And if we could just get over ourselves, then we can
yeah,
fly.
I have I was just talking about this with someone that I met at the Grayfield. The great thing about the Grayfield, by the way, is you meet so many people. It's like you don't have any cell phone service. I didn't even bring the computer, and it forces you to have conversations with people, which is just a lost art at this point. But I mean, I was just talking to someone about this. I will maybe always suffer from imposter syndrome, like me, you know, saying, oh, if they only knew that, you know, here I am in my humble Birmingham basement, you know. But if you believe in yourself enough and your talent, and not even so much that, for me, I believe in the stories that I'm telling, because I mostly write about women that are changing the world for the better in whatever corner of the world they are changing the world for the better in. And if you believe in the story or whatever it is that you're selling or making or building or whatever, then it's your responsibility to be the vessel to get that, in my case, and get that story out. And so I have to get over myself, not only getting over being shy and not wanting to pitch, but also getting over my fear of being told no, or my imposter syndrome. Like, who do I say this to myself all the time, who do I think I am to tell this story? Well, who am I not to tell this story? You know, why not me? Why not me? And so I think, you know, just really my confidence has boomed in the last couple years, because like I said, when I was launching the Duchess Commentary, I didn't even think it was on the table to write for one of these magazines. Like, I didn't even think that was an option for me, living in Birmingham and wanting to stay here and raise a family here and plant roots here. For whatever reason, be it COVID and Zoom and all of the above, maybe my talent, I don't know, but I not only was able to write for one of those magazines, but I mean, literally every magazine I grew up reading as a child, I've written for. And that's mostly God, I would say. And also, you know, I work really hard. And anybody that tells you that doing this is easy. I mean, somebody once told me that you have to work 80 hours a week so you don't have to work 40 hours a week, meaning like when you're your own boss, you have to work double time to not have the quote unquote restrictions of a full-time job. I mean, this is more than I'm working about, you know, 3 or 4 full-time jobs at this point, and I love it, don't get me wrong. But if you think that it's going to be easy, and if you think it's going to be easy quickly, you will be sorely disappointed, because it's not. And you have to go, like, there was a moment actually where I was ready to give it up and go back to full-time desk work, you know, this summer. I mean, I told you I've been at this since April 30th, and so I'm almost 4 months in. And then I went out to lunch with a friend, and she gave me a little locket with just something really meaningful to me that she and I understood. And it was my sign, okay, you're not done yet. you have more stories to tell. And so I think, I think the hard is actually a beautiful thing, because you grow and you learn so much about yourself. And then when the yes does come and the win does come, it's so much sweeter than it would have been had it just been handed to me on a silver platter when I was 22 and coming out of J school. So just again, just never give up and just plant your feet in the sand and root yourself in your dream, because it is possible. If I can do this, anybody can do this.
Oh, Rachel, thank you so much for sharing that today. And we have a question, and we'll get to that in a second, but I do want to end, like, kind of wrap up our talk and then get to a few questions if anybody has them. We ask this of all of our Wealth Edit Wednesday guests, but why did you say yes to the Wealth Edit? Or in your case, why did you contact the Wealth Edit? Like, what about the Wealth Edit spoke to you?
My gosh. So I came across the Wealth Edit. I had heard about the Wealth Edit when I was at the Birmingham Business Alliance. I think one of my colleagues had and I think I read an article about y'all in the Birmingham Business Journal as well, which I was constantly perusing for my job. But Emily, it was when I heard you on a podcast talking about your testimony and about your story. And I heard that a couple months before I ended up leaving the BBA. And I knew when I left the BBA that I wanted the future of my business to be mostly editorial, but also some work with Birmingham companies that I really believed in, like a very small, tiny little list of companies that I wanted to give a discounted rate to, because I had worked for almost 4 years for the Birmingham Business Alliance, and I still wanted to keep local, even though I'm writing about like stuff happening in Buckingham Palace in London. Like I still wanted a foot in Birmingham. And so the Wealth Edit was certainly at the top of my list. I understood the mission because I am a woman who was raised by a single mother. I didn't really have a lot of male influences growing up, and I was really undereducated in finance and in investing and in, okay, so you make money, what do you do with it? I mean, still, like, I'm learning every day, but like, a few months ago, prior to the Wealth Edit, if you had given me $1 million, which if anybody would like to do that, the door is certainly still open for that. But I wouldn't have known what to do with it as far as investing went. I wouldn't have had a clue. And the Wealth Edit is so educational, but also it's a community. And I believe in its mission because I am that woman that is financially undereducated, and it just is so incredibly overwhelming to me, or it was before the Wealth Edit. And you break it down into bite-sized chunks that I can digest, and I feel more empowered than I ever have financially in the 4 months I've known y'all and have been working closely with you. And not only that, but I've made friends, and it really makes me feel like a better woman now, especially now that I don't have a stable, steady paycheck coming in every 2 weeks as I used to. I needed this education more than ever as a solopreneur, if you will. And so, I mean, the Wealth Edit has changed my life in many ways for the better. Mostly I can have financial conversations more confidently, and that makes me, put my shoulders up a couple inches straighter and walk a little taller. And I would recommend it highly to anyone. I'm a little obsessed with the Wealth Edit, actually. It's just
well, we're a little obsessed with you, so it really works out.
It makes me feel
well.
empowered and just like really like, okay, like it's lessened my imposter syndrome around money. Like, who am I to think I can make money as a writer? Well, actually I can. And not only can I make the money, but I can make smart decisions with it when I make it. So, I mean, it's just a passion for me now.
Well, we appreciate you, and we're so glad. I think really, like you said about COVID, there are silver linings in it. And I look at everyone on this call and everyone that's participated in the Wealth Edit over the last year and thinking, like, we never would have known these brave and interesting women had we not created this community. And now we get to talk to them all the time, and like, what a privilege. So anyway,
There's
thank
some
y'all.
great women on the call. Like I want to specifically call out Ryan Graham. Hi, Ryan.
Ryan's
I know
awesome.
Ryan from the junior league, assuming this is the same Ryan Graham that I know from the junior league. But yeah, I mean, it's a great roster of women on this call, and I just say, the more we can empower each other. Yes, it is the same Ryan Graham. She has confirmed this. I love you too. And yeah, I mean, let's band together as women and take on the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we have a question. Anyone's welcome to drop off, but we have a question. Where do you see the future of freelancing with the magazine industry and print journalism getting smaller?
Yeah, it's really tough. I mean, the magazine heyday of the 90s and early 2000s has passed. I mean, like I'm a magazine subscriber. I encourage all of you to please subscribe to magazines. I know that the digital version is compelling to just do that for free, but really please support the magazines you love, because if you notice, magazines keep getting thinner and thinner and thinner. And like I'm looking across the room at my September issue of Vogue, and that's pretty fat, but the rest of the issues of Vogue are thinner than I've ever seen. And that's because magazines are not what they might have been 30 and even 20 years ago. And so where do I see the future of it going? Well, I really think a lot of digital, I mean, magazines like Glamour are digital only now. They don't even run a print issue, which is something that I honestly didn't know until I started writing for them. I was like, where's the print issue? And there is none. And so, if you love magazines, if there's one like Southern Living or Garden and Gun or whatever that you read every month, please subscribe. It's really not that expensive. And that really does help all of us keep doing what we're doing and bringing content and beautiful photos to you. I don't know where the future is going, but I certainly hope there is one, because I love what I do. And, I think there will always be a market for short form and long form storytelling in magazines. And so, but I think it's really going to go more digital as we go on. I think you're going to see some of your favorite magazines decide to pull the plug on their print edition. I have no confirmation of this. This is just me predicting, but do kind of like Glamour did and just go digital only.
Yeah. Okay, we have one more question from Nan Phillip, and Nan says, I'm curious if you have any insight or tips on managing your business finances now that you're freelancing. Do you have a bookkeeper, a specific way you invoice your clients? And she also started working for herself early this year, and Nan's going to be on Wealth Edit Wednesday in a few weeks. So we're super excited to have her this fall.
Okay.
So she says it's been big, but exciting. It's definitely been a learning curve. Yeah.
That's what no one prepares you for, is that I feel like only 10-15% of the time am I actually writing. Most of my time is doing admin stuff, pitching, invoicing. And no, I do not have a bookkeeper. Nan, I got an email one time. Sometimes I get hate mail for my stories. That's interesting. But one time I got a praise email, and it said, to Ms. Burchfield and your staff. And I cackled at that one, because I was like, it's a staff of one in the basement down here. And so, yeah, there's no staff, there's no bookkeeper. I do have a CPA. I do have an accountant that I've had for years that does my taxes, and he's been incredibly helpful. He's also retiring, so I'm kind of like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So if you know a great CPA, please let me know, because my lovely one is retiring in October. But he's really helped me, because this is something I did not know, is that when you are self-employed, you have to file quarterly reports. Didn't know that. That was a scary surprise right around the end of my first quarter in early this month. So there's a lot to learn. But how do I invoice? I mean, again, I'm pretty persistent about the invoices, maybe even more than the pitches, because now it's like, I've done the work for you and now you need to pay me. And there are some people, a tip I have is, when you invoice, make sure that you see, like, because I didn't know what net 60 was. Well, net 60 means that they're going to pay you in 60 days. So make your budget accordingly, because that money, you've done the work, but you're not going to see that paycheck until 2 months from now. And so, it's a learning curve, and I could sit up here and ramble and stutter through an explanation of how I get it done financially. I am not the expert here. Emily and Lauren are, but yeah, I think, asking questions like that at the Wealth Edit is so smart. And I think that's a great possible series for the Wealth Edit, actually.
Yeah. I was actually going to reference,
because I don't know the first thing about, I'm no one's accountant. You don't want me with your money. And so that's why it's another reason why I'm so glad I joined the Wealth Edit when I did, is because I am upright financially right now by the grace of God in the Wealth Edit. So, but yeah, that's the toughest part, is being a staff of one. I would love to hire someone someday to handle my books, but there's not that person right now. I hope I answered your question.
Do reference back, or any Wealth Edit members, if you have that same question or you're kind of migrating, we did a bookkeeping for creatives class. It's in the content on our app. So look back at that, and we'll actually put that in the show notes too. Just so you have a reference for that. But it's a big leap. It was a big leap for us, even though, we do this for a living. Until you've lived it, it's, the best school is the school of hard knocks. And that's what,
I was going to say, I've learned more from the, oh my God, how am I going to cover this bill moments than maybe anything else. Like really being like up a creek. My school of thought I would not recommend. It's really been trial by, or baptism by fire, and going, oh my God, I did that so wrong. Don't do that again. But I would really use your Wealth Edit membership to its full potential, and ask the professionals, who is certainly not me, those kind of questions.
Well, Rachel, thank you so much for being here today. We enjoyed
my honor
as always, and I know we need to have you back again for a round two. So thank you.
I'm here, and thank you all for joining. Emily, Lauren, thank you. I love the Wealth Edit and all that it stands for.
Thank you. And hey, sneak peek, new website coming up later this afternoon for the Wealth Edit. So get excited, everyone.
All right. Bye, y'all. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.